Hi guys, Rachybop here. Today I am reviewing the London Olympics opening ceremony 2012 that was on last Friday. I wasn't overly impressed with the opening ceremony. Now, cue the hate in the comments, cue the hate. I am entitled to my opinion though, as are you to yours, okay? But let's keep it nice. I expected a lot. The build up to it, the hints of what was going to happen on the web, in the news, Danny Boyle doing it, such a high standard to live up to before he's even done anything. I'm certainly not going to put anyone down who was in it or who created it because it was huge and I couldn't have done it. From a viewer's perspective, I'm just going to say how it felt to watch it and how the experience was. So I really was looking forward to watching this. We sat down and we watched it the whole way through. We did have a little gap while they were all bringing out the countries because that was a little long-winded, and there was plenty surprises, but a lot of them were kind of downgraded surprises. Like, you were sort of like, oh, that's so-and-so, why did they choose them? Like, what do they have to do with anything? What does this song have to do with anything? Oh well, I like them, let's just watch them. It was just really random. I think, first of all, when it started, there was a lot of interpretive dance, which cracks me up anyway because of Family Guy. Like, I'll show you with interpretive dance. Everything was like this. I just feel it was a little too, you know, it's like give them a shovel. There were so many little groups of people doing different things that it didn't really work on a big scale, and it must have been pretty bad for the people in the arena, apart from the atmosphere of it all, which I'm sure was buzzing, to see what they're doing over there. And you know, whereas when it was in Beijing, not to compare, because I don't think this was any worse than that at all, that they had lots of people doing the same thing, so that was quite effective, whereas this had lots of people doing different things, doing this in different ways, to start with anyway. There was a lot of error with the timeline of going through the years and introducing certain things that you'd already seen. I'm not going to mention what. Music was used in the wrong place where it should have been used later. The best part of the whole thing for me was Mr. Bean playing with the orchestra. That bit was the best. Totally funny, related with heaps of people, simple, worked, brilliant. Loved that bit. That was the best bit. I also liked the fluffy clouds that they had, and the rings when they came down, that was fun. The sketch that they did with the Queen was very good, although when they finished it off and she parachuted down with Daniel Craig and Mr. Bond, it didn't quite work because Daniel Craig wasn't there and the parachute went off out of the arena, and the Queen walked from back there. When they'd have tried to make it come down into the arena and then the Queen come out the floor or something with Daniel Craig, that would have been flawless. But the way they did it, it wasn't. It was kind of like, we're including you, Queenie, but then once we've gone on to the fake bit, you're just going to come out and do your royal duty. She's amazing, by the way, I'm not going to insult her. She's so old, she does so brilliantly. To stay up late for all these huge events that even as young ones have difficulty keeping up with when we near 30, so she does pretty amazing. So you know, I know she looked pretty miserable and bored through the whole thing, but I think we're all pretty miserable and bored and we don't have cameras on our faces. I don't think there was any need to mention the NHS. It was like, haha, other countries in your face with NHS, whereas us Brits are all like, well, it's rubbish, it's failing, it's going down the pan. When it went into Storybook, That was really, really good. When the little girl was reading under the bed covers, and then the Dementors came on, and then there was Voldemort, who looked nothing like Voldemort, but because I'd heard previously that that's who it was, I knew it was Voldemort. And then loads of Mary Poppins, because one Mary Poppins is never enough, came down from the sky. That was nice, because it was very storybook, but then I don't quite know, we were sort of skipping then from real life into fantasy, and then we were back into real life. The Beatles came, well, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band came at the wrong point. If you've got Paul McCartney there, why not put him in at that point? I think if I'd have been there, I would have been insanely confused. I would have thought that that architect guy was Abraham Lincoln, and I just wonder what are they trying to tell me with their interpretive dance. The fireworks at the end were great by Byers and Leia, and the torch, the cauldron lighting was amazing. It was interesting because you were kind of deflated. You sort of thought, I was convinced it was either going to be David Beckham or the Queen that lights it, because they are both national treasures. And when we saw David Beckham coming down the River Thames on the speedboat, you thought, yeah, he's going to light it. Then you see the back of Steve Redgrave and you think, oh, of course, he's going to light it. And then he sort of jogs on in and gives it to some kids that we don't know, but they've all been chosen by Olympians and they are the future, hopefully. So, and they lit it, which was an amazing honour for them. I don't know, I suppose that was very selfless thing for us to do. Extremely selfless. It was like saying, well, we have the opportunity here to have a big celebrity, a big Olympian, a person to light the torch, but we don't care because we're going to give it to these children. And so I think, although at first you were sort of like, oh, they can't do, can they do that? It was really, really touching. And the design of the cauldron, the sculpture which they lit, if you haven't seen the opening ceremony, go find it and watch it. It lit it and then it rose up. That was amazing. That was really, to me, it's just do the Mr. Bean, light the cauldron. Mr. Bean, light the cauldron. Mr. Bean could have lit the cauldron. So I guess my overall review of the London Olympic Games 2012 opening ceremony would be, there were a few things that needed to change. It was way too long. There was some very unnecessary things happening, but they obviously put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think it did pay off, and it looked visually very good. And looking back, I'm glad I watched it and had that experience. And the cauldron part was fully amazing. So there's bits I liked, bits I didn't like, and that's fair enough. I will definitely always remember it, and I definitely think it's one of the best we've ever seen. Should I rate it? I'm going to give the Olympics opening ceremony in London 2012 4 big fat moves. 4. Because it wasn't perfect, it wasn't, there was things wrong with it, but it was still pretty epic. Let me know what you thought of the opening ceremony if you watched it, or if you didn't watch it. Let me know if you wish you had. Any thoughts about the opening ceremony, let us know in the comments. I love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video and share it with your friends and enemies, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.